our channel. Hey yo, listen up, yeah. Hey yo, the wireless woman.
You in charge of the girls, right?
I am in charge of the girls.
Are you in charge of the girls?
I am in charge of the girls.
Okay.
All right. Hey, yo. Welcome back, Wi-Fi's, to yet another underground transmission of the Wireless Woman. Go ahead and do me a favor on your way in and like this video. Why? Well, because when you like it, I love it. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And click the bell for notifications of when I go live and when I upload new content. So, wireless and live is going to be a thing. It's going to be an ongoing thing. So go ahead and drop me some comments and let me know what's a great day and time of the week for me to go live so that you can be there and participate. I do have some guests that are going to be coming on, but baby, it's summertime and we are busy out here in these streets. I'm also going to be dyeing my hair again. I think I'm going to go from this blue to a fuchsia. I'm super excited about that. So I'll keep y'all posted. I got a hair appointment at the end of May in a few weeks, so we'll see how it goes. So, tonight I wanted to get on here and talk about feminism. I am finding that we're arguing over a lot of terms that we don't fully have an accurate understanding of. So, I do want to begin to break down some of those terms and what those things can mean for us here in the Black community, especially as Black women. Right now is a time where unity is so important. So, as much miscommunication as we can get out of the way, the better for us all as a people and as a community, because some of these things are getting real out of hand because of the language that we're using. And we're in a time where the language changes so much. I was literally in the subway the other day and I always order my sub with white American cheese. And as I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute. I said, is that what people call it? And they were like, well, we just call it American. And I was like, oh. I said, I grew up in a time where you had yellow American cheese and you had white American cheese. And the lady was like, yeah, we don't have the yellow anymore. There are some stores that do still have the yellow cheese, but we don't have that. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, so there's no need for me to modify the American cheese with white. And they were like, yeah, no. So a lot of things have changed. And just that simple, the meaning of a word can change and it gives a whole new context to what we're actually talking about. So I have been pursuing my higher education, and this word of feminism, it keeps coming up. And I consistently get accused of being a feminist. And I've always like, I'm not a feminist. Like, where are people getting this from? And I'm actually a womanist. I'm pursuing a sociology degree, so I got the luxury during this semester to go into the history of sociological thought. This class has been so insightful for me. I got to do a deep dive into W.E.B. Du Bois. I got to look at Oliver Cromwell Cox. Some of these people I had never even heard of. But it also has helped me to understand that a lot of people, especially educated academics, have had very evolving views over the course of their lives and their life experience that was really an undercurrent for a lot of the theories, a lot of the belief systems that they held and developed. You know, to look at W.E.B. Du Bois at the beginning of his career, all the way till he left up out of here and went to Africa in the end, it's an evolution. And if you just take a snapshot of any of the information that these people subscribe to at any certain time in their life, then you would miss the sum total of the evolution of their work. There's something that's called the God view, which is a sociologist or scientist that has absolutely no bias in their theory. And it's somewhat humanly impossible to remove all bias. So, the bias that a person uses in order to evaluate data, empirical information that's given to them in a scientific study is called the view. So, feminist theory is based off the fact that the person who developed a particular theory about a thing was female. And that's literally it. So if the scientist is female, then whatever they hypothesize, whatever they theorize, will be considered feminist theory. Now, there are certain things about feminist theory that delineates it from regular theory. So, sociology, psychology, a lot of our sciences are inherently male. Mm? This is where male privilege, male pathology comes from, because most of the information, most of the theories, most of the science that we have was developed by men. Even in the cases when it wasn't, a lot of times men would take credit for certain concepts or theories that a woman may have had simply so that they would be accepted by the scientific community. So a lot of women got written out of the history of science.
There's no protocol for women attending.
There's no protocol for a man circling the earth either, sir.
So any woman who did present studies, theories, hypotheses on certain phenomena in society, in psychology, whatever the particular science was, it would be considered a feminist perspective, a feminist theory. It didn't even matter if what she was saying was exactly concurrent with a male finding. The simple fact that her sex was female made it feminist theory. So, generally, the things that separate feminist theory from the default male theory, like when we talk about structural constructionist theory, when we talk about conflict theory, these are all different theories that men came up with. But if a woman is to do a Marxian study, even though she's studying a male theory, because she is a female scientist, the study will automatically become a feminist theory study. So, more often than not, feminist theory is associated with what we call the amelioration of society, which is basically we want to make things better. It's very rarely a very independent, unbiased study. Women tend to view data from the lens of how do we use these things to make life better for society as a whole or for vulnerable communities. Feminist theory also tends to focus in on vulnerable populations like children, women, minorities, elderly, disabled. So the people who are not generally served or serviced by the overarching science and theories that men have come up with, women tend to focus in on those populations. And that's why you'll see a lot of the studies that were done by women mirroring a lot of the studies that are done by minorities, particularly blacks in this country, because they suffer similar oppression. Because there is a second class citizenship associated not just with race but also with gender, you'll see a lot of feminist theory begin to mirror a lot of the same arguments about overarching white supremacy and pathology in both sets of work. So I know just within myself, one of the things I'm consistently putting forward on this channel is how racism and misogyny are connected. How misogyny is just racism's sexy cousin. And as I have studied much more feminist theory during this semester at university, I've been able to deepen my acknowledgement of these parallels and arrive at the conclusion that yes, I am a feminist and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That the female perspective is something that's needed to be injected into the way that we do science and society because it does bring balance.
Bring balance to the force, not leave it in darkness.
It does bring a full scope of picture to what's actually going on in society. Those who are at the top of the hierarchy should not be the only ones to speak for how we perfect the art of doing society and world and life together. It can't be the people who are nestled in their beds with health care and the ability to go to college and access to capital and resources that are the only ones who get to say how society should be structured. Females, women, the feminine perspective should have a place and a say in how we build a more perfect union in society. So I wanted to come on here and really begin to deconstruct some of these terms. I mean, I've learned tons about fascism, what it actually is now, capitalism, the proletariat, feminism, socialism, all of these different isms that we use to separate ourselves from each other, like feminism. If you'll notice, there is no male masculine counterpart to that. There's no ism when it is connected to male theory. And so that in and of itself tells you how unfair of a situation it is. It lets you know that these structures were not constructed with the idea, with the thought that women would ever participate in them. That's why we're given this separate category for our opinions, our thoughts, and our contributions. Whether it's fair or not is a discussion for another day. But I want to take some of the negative stigma around feminist theory, feminism, and what its actual function and purpose is, what the term actually means when it's used. It's not this radical militarized group of, women who are on a mission to dominate and subjugate men.
Secret society, no ma'am. National Organization of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood.
Even though that's what has been told of us, the people who are actually doing the dominating and the subjugating are the ones that created this term. But there are so many more different categories of feminism and what feminism is. If this is something that you're interested in, drop me a comment and let me know. We can begin to dissect some of the different types of feminism. I had Bro Diallo on the show, on the live a couple weeks back, and he talked about how much more radical feminism needs to become in order to exist and be a viable force in this male-dominated space and male-dominated world.
So it's a trick. So it's not enough to be, my girls, my sisters, girl power. It has to be revolution. It has to be revolutionary, because if it's not revolutionary, then it is just another integrationist movement.
So there are factions and sections of feminism that are much more radical than the actual general term itself. But I'm no longer taking offense to being called a feminist. And so, if you see what I see and you feel as I feel,
But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek,
go ahead and drop that fire headphones emoji for me in the comments. I look forward to engaging with you there. I mean, ladies, listen, we've got a banner under which to be able to unite and support each other, be able to give voice and lend credence to who we are as individuals, as people. And I just feel like we need to make sure that we're using it for good, that we're wielding our power and our voices and our influences for good, but also in a way that helps us to create a more perfect society, because we got to live in it. But you already know the drill. Until the next time, y'all can clock out for me. I'll see you in those comments.
Now, this is your place, but I am in charge of the girls. And you can just kiss my ass.